go ahead and remove your hubcap. If you have steel wheels, if you have aluminum wheels, well, you don't have to worry about this. Try to be gentle with this. Sometimes they are stuck and they do break easily because they're plastic. I'm using a little pry bar. You can use a small screwdriver if that's what you have. There you go. And now with a 21mm socket, remove all 5 of your lug nuts. There we go. Now you can take this lug nut off. And remove your wheel. I'm going to start by removing this nut here for the sway bar link. It's most likely going to require a pair of locking pliers on the back to hold the rest of the stud in place so it doesn't all just spin. Try to lock them on as tight as possible to get a good grip. I'm going to try some heavier duty locking pliers. Clamp them on nice and tight. And try this again. There we go, that worked. Take your sway bar link off. And now I'll have to do the same thing to the bottom side. Next, I want to remove this ABS wire as well as the brake line and brake hose from the strut. So take a 12mm socket and take this bolt off. And this should release from here. Okay. There we go. If you just work it out slowly, it'll come out. Don't bend it too much because you'll break the brake line. You'll also have a 10mm bolt back here. Sorry, I didn't see that earlier. There's another 10mm bolt back here for the ABS wire. Take that off too. And in order to give this more slack, because the knuckle's going to want to come down, I'm also going to remove this one up here. With a 19mm socket and a 19 wrench, I'm going to remove these 2 bolts. I'm holding the bolt side so it doesn't just keep spinning as I remove the nut. Make sure these are broken free. This one spins. Same with this one. It's perfect. With a small hammer, I'm going to tap these bolts out. I'm using a brass hammer so it doesn't damage the threads. So now that this is out, I can put my socket on here with a wrench and use the wrench to pry the bolt out the rest of the way. Okay, that one's a lot easier. At this point, you can separate the knuckle from the strut. To get to the strut, we actually have to remove this piece so we can fold the back and then take the corner piece out. So pull up on each cushion, has one hook here and one hook over here. They can be pretty tight in there, especially if it's never been removed. Yeah, these were pretty tight for sure. Now you can pull this bottom of the seat out. You don't have to remove it completely if you don't want to. With the seat pulled out, you can see that bolt right there that holds this corner piece in place. That's what we're after. Remove that with a 12mm. Now we have to fold the seat down. Now you can pull on this knob here and pull the seat down, or fold it down, I guess. With this down, you can lift up on this corner cushion and it should pop out of its spot. Set that aside. And if you lift up this insulation, you can see the 3 nuts that hold in the top of your strut. With a 12mm wrench, I'm going to break these nuts free. Yeah, right. Okay. Once it's broken free, I'm actually going to take it all the way off. Next, I'm going to do the back one. I'm going to leave this one for last. Now with this one, when you take it off, you'll notice that the whole strut is going to want to drop down. That's because it's not held in at the bottom anymore. So that's normal. With one arm supporting the strut, I'm going to put the other one in here, take off the last nut. Make sure you don't drop it and it falls somewhere where you can't get it. And from the bottom, go ahead and remove your old strut. With the new strut, I want to make sure that it's facing the right way. If you try to put it in crooked, you're never going to match up the holes. Slide it in from the bottom up towards the top, and it's going to be hard to see, but try to match up the holes so it slides through. Once the holes are lined up, push it up through. Thread on one of your nuts just so you can have it secured in there. Now you can let go and put the other two on. Go ahead and put the other two on. Now I'm going to bottom these out, make them snug, but I won't torque them until the end because you actually want the pressure of the vehicle sitting on this when you tighten them. That way the strut is fully seated and compressed upwards. So like I said, I'm going to make them snug just so that I know that they're bottomed out, but I'm going to come back later after the wheel is on and torque these to spec. Back at the bottom, I'm going to try and line up the strut with a knuckle. Lift this up into place. Oops. Try to line up the bolt holes. And remember, the bolts came in from the back to the front. There's one. Put on the second one as well. I put a pull jack underneath to jack this up, and as this goes up, it's actually going to pivot backwards, and that's going to help me line up this bolt hole. And it's almost there. Perfect. And with this still jacked up, I'm going to start on both of the nuts and snug them up. So snug these up. And now we'll torque them. Go ahead and torque these to 188 foot-pounds. I'm going to hold this just in case it wants to spin. Oh, I'm going to hold this just in case it wants to spin. It's pretty tight. That's one. All right, go ahead and torque this lower one as well. There we go, that's torqued. Go ahead and reattach your ABS wire bracket onto the frame here. You don't want to make that too tight because that little bolt can snap easily. Snug it up. Oops. Snug it up. Then right behind this brake line here, there's another 10mm bolt holding the ABS in onto the strut. Go ahead and snug that one up too. Finally, go ahead and put in your brake line back into the strut and reattach this 12mm bolt that holds it on. Perfect. Next, put in your sway bar up top here, start on the nut, and let's snug it up. Try to be gentle with these so that you don't ruin the boot. All right, that's nice and tight. Go ahead and put the wheel on. Start on all 5 of your lug nuts and torque them to 76 foot-pounds. All right, let's get the hubcap on. When you put the hubcap on, make sure that you line up this notch here with the valve stem. Otherwise, if you put it on the flat piece, it's just gonna get crushed and then you might have some issues. All right, press it on. And now put the full pressure of the vehicle onto the ground, and then we'll go torque the top of the strut. Torque these nuts to 29 foot-pounds. All right, now let's put the interior back together. Let's put this corner piece back in. When you put it in, you can see this hook right here that needs to slide into that right there. And you'll feel if it's not in because you can pull the top. This is basically what secures the top in. Make sure the seatbelt goes over. It's not the easiest thing to line up because you can't really see anything, but oh, there we go. That just slid in. If that was not in, I'd be able to pull the top down towards me. Now you can flip this up, make sure it latches. And then down here, you have this bolt that we took out. That needs to go back in. Go ahead and bottom it out, make it nice and snug. Perfect. And now let's reinstall the bottom cushion. If your seat belts fell through, go ahead and put them back in. Your center seat belt is twisted this way, it's facing the right way. And put this one through as well. Oh, there we go. All right, now press the cushion back into the back of the seat as far as it'll go. And then there are two hooks under here, which you can see these hooks have to go into that latch in there. So press it down. That's one, and that's two.